Welcome, fellow free-thinking sovereign humans. Colin here, and I'm back for another truth series. Okay, I'm doing this content because I feel compelled to do it. These are truths that I've identified through some combination of nature and nurture. I've been lucky, I think, for myself. It's been a long journey. It's taken a long time to get here, but I've been throwing off the shackles of society and the indoctrination of conformity and normal, and I've been able to build a pretty awesome life. Now 3 kids, doing work I love doing, having the ability to record stuff like this and just share big ideas, which is pretty much my favorite thing on the planet. And then help others hopefully do the same, because that's what I believe. I believe the world is going to be better for my children if we have more free-thinking humans, not more censored sheeples that follow whoever happens to be on TV or whoever happens to be elected through some mostly corrupt process, that understand history and economics, that understand first principles of reality of a lot of things, so that they can put their value into the ether and benefit us all. Because that is what always moves humanity forward, is the creative intellect of individuals. It's never the masses. It's never the mob. It's individuals. Every great breakthrough, every great invention, from flying to the steam engine to E equals mc squared, is a result of a few individuals. Sometimes they come to similar ideas. Sometimes one individual borrows or steals from another and then adds their own twist, etc. That's innovation. That is how our species is able to do what it does, which is absolutely amazing what we've been able to do. And we still have a long, long way to go. Most of our problem comes from trying to organize lots and lots of humans that benefit a few, pretty much. Power corrupts, as they said, and absolute power absolutely corrupts. And that's the hard thing to figure out. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about thought. Okay, I'm calling it the Truth Series because these are based on foundational truths, unchanging, unwavering, absolute, embedded in the fabric of reality. These are things that are not going to change. I've always liked talking about big ideas. I've never been that drawn to current affairs and short bits of dopamine-driven content. Like, what's the new thing? Shiny object syndrome. And of course, I get pulled into that because that's the media world we live in, and it's a hard thing to resist. But over time, I keep coming back to the same principles, the same big ideas. Because I look around me and I see the people around me, I see friends and family, I see society at large, I see people on social media, and I see so many of the same mistakes just over and over and over again. And if people weren't genuinely trying to change, and if people didn't want better lives, if people weren't saying, hey, yes, I'm depressed, hey, yes, I'm struggling, hey, yes, I need help, even if it's subtle, even if it's not outright and obvious and demonstrable, maybe I wouldn't talk about it as much. But we have, as John Vernaeke says, a meaning crisis. We have an opioid crisis, a depression rate crisis, health crisis, mental and physical. We need this more than ever. We need big ideas more than ever. We need principle ideas more than ever. Not censored, manufactured bullshit ideas that benefit a few, that they use to control the masses. Not those ideas, because we know what those are. We can see it. We see the effects of it. No matter if you suspend your own critical analysis and you buy into it, you will see the disrepair show up in your life. You will end up in debt. You will probably be overweight. You will feel generally unhappy. You'll have no meaning. You'll just be a passive consumer of products and services and content that isn't making you any better. And that is literally living in the matrix. And I just refuse to do it. So let's talk about thought. Okay. Now, again, get the Better Human newsletter, betterhumans.substack.com. That's a good place to keep updated. I'm also sharing a lot more of these ideas in there once or twice a week. Okay. So we've established the Truth Series. It's that principles that don't change, evergreen, constant, universal, timeless. That's what we're focused on here. And I would say, as a side note, just in your life, the more you can spend time on the things that don't change, that aren't going to change. The more you can go back to the old books, the old philosophers, the things that most of the content today is just rehashed, watered down versions of, right? Go back to the source materials. Get interested in like old movies, old plays, old books, old radio shows. Like there's so many amazing things in the archive of history that unfortunately just doesn't get utilized the way it should. And a really good YouTube channel that I've been watching recently, there's actually two. Gravemind is one that is kind of a new twist on these old pieces of content. And then Master Key Society is the source material. So that a lot of it's Napoleon Hill stuff, and a lot of the stuff he published. You have things like How to Own Your Own Mind, which is really good. I'm working through that right now. You have Master Key, the Master Key Method or something. I forgot what it's called, but like most of these books were written in the 20s and 30s, and they're simple. They're to the point, simple language, no fluff, no BS. And it's the timeless principles that were true then and are true today. So go back to source material. All right, let's get in it. Thoughts, actions, results, everything. And then I have the infinity symbol here because that's how these things are all connected. It's one infinite loop, one dualistic loop where everything is connected. Let's think about what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, the hardest thing for somebody who creates content is to try to say the thing or tell the story or, you know, or entertain. Just, it's hard to guess what's going to really stick in your mind. Like what's going to get you to change? What's going to get you to take a different action, to think differently? That's the thing. That's what I'm most interested in. I think about it all the time. I think about like, what is this big idea? How do I say this? Can I tell a story around this? Like, do I have to do like the Socratic method? It's tough. It's tough to figure that out. Of course, everyone's different. And of course, this is one way. I'm just talking to a camera right now, Mike. There's literally nobody in front of me. So it's tough. So when I explain this, I'm trying to maybe get you to ask yourself, what is that thing that will get you to change? I'm going to give some practical examples today. You know, like I can give you exactly what you need to do step by step to become a millionaire. If you want to become a millionaire, if you want to find the woman or man of your dreams, I could give you step by step how to do it without knowing anything about you. That's how timeless these principles are. Because the accomplishing of any goal in the future that lives in that, as some say, the fourth dimension, that metaphysical realm, that realm of ideas, of vision, of creative intelligence, where you can literally see the future and then go manifest that future. That is the same process almost every single time. In fact, it is the same process. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how everything originates in thought. Thoughts, actions, results, and then it goes around and around again through the infinity symbol. It's all connected. It's all the same process. It's a never-ending process of thoughts, actions, and results. And then when you get results, you again have thoughts about them, then you take actions. In fact, this is beautiful. Thoughts, right, create actions. Actions create results, so cause and effect. Results create data points or something happens, and then you have to think about it, and then you have to act in response to it. And then when you act again, it creates a result. This is actually the success loop. That's what I used to call it. I just remembered. The success loop, right? Thoughts, actions, results. Thoughts, actions, results. Over and 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 over. But ask yourself, what is the thing that's going to get you to change, to think differently? I always visualize somebody listening to this, and they're driving, they're doing their dishes, maybe they're taking a walk outside, and then they wake up tomorrow, and you wake up tomorrow pretty close to the way you woke up yesterday. Maybe you have some ideas mulling around in your subconscious. It's kind of chaotic. It's kind of random. It's like pinball. They kind of come and go from your consciousness. Maybe you remember this talk like a month later because you forgot about it for a while, and you're like, oh, I should do something about that. And then over time, that fades again, and it fades, and it fades, and you're in the same place you were 6 months ago, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year. If that's your situation, the question is, how do we change that? It's a tough one. I'm not asking rhetorically. I'm literally asking you, like, email me, like send me some ideas. Okay. All I can do is figure out how I've done it for the bits of success that I've had. And then try to pick apart the tangible things I did. It's really hard because, I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been doing my own thing for 18 years. And if we were to compare, you know, success relative to other people that have had more success, it gets very muddy because it's like, okay, well, how are we defining success? Is it about fame? Is it about money? Is it about how big your company is, right? Or is it about having a worthy goal and having meaning in your life and being happy along the way. Like it's hard because that definition to everyone is different. I think I know what my definition is, but it's like, how do I identify over the past 15, 16 years through all the ups and downs, all the different things I've worked on and done, all the things that, I mean, you could call them failures. I don't call them failures. They were just experiments. They're just things I did for a while and I learned from, and then I moved on to something else because my energy was better focused on the other thing. How to identify the subtle things in my environment, the subtle habits, the subtle routines, the subtle thought processes, the subtle subconscious meanderings deep within my psyche that, you know, bounce around, collide, combine, and then manifest into what happens when I wake up. What do I do when I wake up? That's the tough thing. So that's the thing I want you to really think about. I want you to consume this in any content for the rest of your life based on trying to help you do something. If there's something that you're trying to accomplish, some goal, something that you want, and we all want things, we all desire, right? You have to ask yourself, what am I going to do to break the current status quo? Because the current status quo, the things I'm doing up to this point, is set up in a way that I don't deserve the things I want because I would already have them. Now, of course, you can be working on things, you can be making progress on things, and that wouldn't really apply to you. That would really come down to meaning and purpose and, you know, how much you're investing into it. Like, are you really committed? Do you really believe? And a lot of other stuff like that. Again, that's why this stuff is hard. It's hard. There's a lot of rabbit holes. There's a lot of nuances. Every single like thought and idea and principle can have like 100 subtopics and sub strategies to them. So let's get to the next slide. All right. Every action originates in thought. Every action and inaction leads to a result. You desire results. So to get what you want, you must control thoughts towards a specific result and take massive action over time to reach those results. So let's go all the way towards the end of what you want. You want what you want, okay? To get what you want, you reverse engineer the actions required to get what you want. That, for most people, is doable. You could say, I want to make $1 million. I know exactly the business I want to do it in, or I already have a business. I know how to get there. And you can map out step by step, what do you have to do? Okay. And you can even get it down to the daily process, which is very important. Most people don't go this far. But once you get the step by step of how to get there, and you give yourself a by when, you say, I want to have $1 million within 3 years. Okay. And these are the steps I want to take. You could reverse engineer through math every single day, how many days that is. Then you could get down to the hour level of the day. So maybe 2 hours a day, I'm going to spend focused entirely on getting to that $1 million in 3-year goal, right? And this is also the power of focus. Most people don't do this. Most of us have 1,000 things that are vying for our attention every day, 1,000 things we could do, 1,000 things we're interested in. So focus is another, like, again, big subtopic. You got to figure out how to master that. You have to figure out how to say no to a lot of good things so you can really focus on the big one. And really, if you dedicated to just one thing, like one thing, and everything you did and thought about was directed towards that end, you'd get there. Like, that's how powerful it is. And for every other thing you add to your life, where you split some of your attention and energy, both of those things now become less likely to accomplish. You might not even accomplish them at all. Or if you do, it will take much longer, right? So the time required is directly proportionate to the energy and focus that you direct into it. It's all connected. So once you get down to that, you have a goal of 3 years. You have daily process because you've mapped out 3 years times days in the year. You have that many days. You figure out it takes about this much every single day, and you guesstimate the amount of hours you invest on a daily basis. Let's say it's 2 hours. To me, that's kind of the golden number because you can get 2 hours of deep work in, and you can get a lot done in 2 hours if you really, really just focus and you block out all distractions. I highly recommend reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. I mean, that's a game changer. That could change your life, that book right there. Then you have your daily routine. But that's not it. There's a couple other things. Okay, one, and this is the hard part. This is the really hard thing to think about. How do you develop the thoughts that make it so you first never skip your daily routine? Never, ever, ever. That's very important. If you think, I'm going to start tomorrow, or it's the weekend, I got to have fun. No, that's bullshit. You don't truly want $1 million in 3 years if you think you can skip Saturdays and Sundays. Okay? If you don't feel good, right, and you got to lay down, you can still read or take notes or do something. So you got to develop thoughts that think that way. You have to develop a mindset that's based around keeping sacred your 2 hours a day. Because again, your 2 hours a day is your 3 mil or 1 mil in 3 years. They're exactly connected, right? Then the next one, because again, hard stuff, right? This takes time. You got to develop this, got to cultivate this. And I'm going to give you tangible ways to do that in today's talk. So just be patient. We'll get there. Once you have a belief around, and a belief that you, like faith, like you truly believe it, it's unwavering, like it's a principle to you. When you protect your 2 hours a day towards that goal, and you're like protecting it, no one's going to take it from you. It's part of your identity. Once you have that, now you got to figure out within that 2 hours a day, how to focus your energy and on what things to focus on. So that requires creative intelligence. That requires goal setting, visualization. That requires testing things. That requires probably suspending your ego because you are nervous about cold calling people, or you don't want to ask people for their opinion or whatever. There's like within that realm, and that's how this stuff gets so complex and why so few people are successful. Because within that realm, even if you're able to map out a goal and you have a 3-year goal and you map it out down to the daily, hourly commitment, you are already ahead of most people. Okay? If you do that, you still have to have focus and other principles that apply to the work you're doing and the feedback you're getting and listening to and the actions you're taking. So, but this is how these ideas are so timeless and how they apply to everything, because these ideas are how you get to that 3-year goal, but they're also how you get to like the mini goals that are within that 2 hours a day window. Right? So you set mini goals, like maybe phase 1 is you got to build like this thing, like this business plan, or you got to kind of like build the basics, or you have to build a brick and mortar location, or whatever it is. Well, within that first project, you have to have a bunch of mini goals, and then you have to connect that to daily action, right? And maybe that fits into your 2 hours or not. Maybe it's even more than that. In a lot of cases, it is more than that, depending on the scope of the project and what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to get to that 1 mil. A lot of times it's way more hours. So once that happens, you have to take action, and action is based on thought. So you do research. You know, you have a hypothesis about the best place to start. Like you're not going to know perfectly how you're going to make the money, or you're going to make this business successful, or whatever it is. You don't know that, but you can reverse engineer it down because there's plenty of information out there. There's plenty of other people that have shared their experiences on how to do this, or how to do what you're doing, or even just how to be successful in general. You test things. You get thoughts based on research. You take notes and you kind of come to some things that sound good, that feel good, that are intuitively probably the right thing to do. Then you go after them, you do them. Then you get feedback, right? So thought creates action, action creates result. Thought, action, result. Thought, action, result. Thought creates action, action creates result. Okay? Result creates more action because you got to think about it. So thought, action, result. It's the infinity sign. It never ends. It's the forever success loop. Thought, action, result. Thought, action, result. Thought, action, result. So when you do that at the micro level, you get very, very good at listening to the feedback you're getting. Maybe you talk to potential customers. Maybe you try some sales calls. Maybe, you do 10 sales calls and it's just not working. You really either don't have the right offer, you don't have the right price, or you're just not that great at sales. And what do you do from there? In fact, that's how we will approach this now. Let's say you're selling just a coaching program or something, and you're using online sales call strategy, like pretty common internet marketing strategy. So you're getting leads because you're reaching out to people and you're like DMing them, whatever. Let's just focus on the sales aspect of it. You get these leads, you get them on the phone. You go through kind of like a fuzzy sales process. Maybe it's kind of thought out. Maybe it's not that much thought out. You went on YouTube, you kind of mapped it out, whatever. So that's an opportunity there. You got to keep that in mind. That's another data point of thing that you could take action on based on thought and then get result from, and then test, iterate, which is again, thought, action, result, thought, action, result. You apply this to everything. Thought, action, result. In fact, I need to write that down. So thought, action, result is the success loop. It's everything. I'm gonna probably turn that into a t-shirt. That's a good one. And see, that's a perfect example. I recorded this episode, this podcast. I'm going to turn this into a talk. I'm going to have a class around this. And while I'm doing it, while I'm creating, while I created a podcast, a lesson, whatever you want to call it, based on a thought I had that I wanted to do it, based on some notes that I took of the outline, based on this presentation here that I made in Google Drive, I now pulled out of it just by sheer accident of taking action after I had thoughts. I found something that I think is going to be very impactful for reinforcing this idea and making me better talk about this idea, making me better teach. And then who knows, that could be a popular t-shirt. Maybe that could be the cornerstone of a new book, right? Maybe that could become the talk itself. Maybe I retitle this. Thoughts that lead to actions that lead to results over time is how you take creative intelligence, which is like the foundation of everything that we build humanity, like literally humans, okay? And it's how you put it into the ether and how you build things. It's incredible when you think about it, how every single thing, every airplane, car, this table right here, this microphone, every single one of these things was first creative intelligence in that metaphysical realm of possibility, that fourth dimension of what could be that doesn't exist. And then it went through a human's brain. And then it led to a human physical action. And then that led to a cause and effect, ripple effect into external reality that brought more data back to that individual, that then thought about that data, that then took thoughts, that then created more results, that then brought more data back to create thought. It's incredible. It's amazing. This concept, I think, is like, this is a game changer. This is the thing that, like, this is a simple way to put the thing that, you know, every self-help guru since the dawn of time has been trying to elucidate to people. Like, that's what this is. Like, I could be on to like the next great best-selling Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I've felt like deep inside my psyche that at some point in my life, I'm going to write that bestseller, that like that's going to last for years. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing. Thought, result. Thought, action, result. See, I got to keep practicing. Thought, action, result. Okay, so back to the sales call. Okay, you got that sales call, and you do enough of them to have some data. You can't do like 2 sales calls and be like, oh, I'm failing, or whatever. Okay, you do a few sales calls. Maybe you do 10 of them. Nobody buys. That's probably enough data to figure out I need to do something here. Because like if you're not converting at least 10% of your calls on average, like something's wrong. Like your pricing is wrong, your demographics is wrong, your leads are wrong, probably multiple of them. So then what do you do once you've done 10 calls and nobody's bought? Okay, there's a few things. Let's think about this. A few things. 1, sales coach. 2, record your sales calls. Hopefully you did. Re-listen to them. And maybe take notes about their objections. Did you address objections? That's a huge part of sales. Most people just like say, oh, okay, yeah, you have an objection, you don't want to buy. No, you have to address it, and then you have to literally ask for the sale again. That's another one. Did you ask for the sale? Or did you be like, wait for them to basically sell themselves, and you didn't ask for the sale, and you're hoping they'll just like email you or call you later and then want to buy from you? No, right? Another example. All of these things, right? Maybe you could even get on a sales call with someone that's similar in your niche, maybe selling a similar product, and you try to have them sell you, right? Go into it just trying to get data and information, and maybe take notes, maybe record the call. Like, what strategies did they use? Maybe map out a step-by-step sales process. Go on YouTube, go deep into selling coaching, go deep into just sales in general, go deep into how to sell over Zoom, go deep into et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? The more thoughts you have to identify this problem, diagnose it, the more actions you can take, and the more data that comes back to you through result that you can then think about, that you can then take actions on, and then you can get more results. And through that process, you will find improvement after improvement after improvement. Excuse me. And then you get on another sales call. And then you evaluate every sales call. What did I do? What did I not do? Did I follow the script? Did I ask for the sale? Etc. Then maybe you decide you want to email every single person that you tried selling to and ask them, why didn't they buy? Maybe get on the phone with them if they're willing. Why didn't you buy? You will get so much freaking data from this process. Now notice everything that I'm mentioning you do here requires, and I think this is one of the biggest hurdles for people being successful. I've thought about this quite a bit. You have to let go of your ego and your fear of social criticism. You have to go to someone and be like, why didn't you buy? Like, that's not easy. That's not easy to do. It requires a certain detachment from social validation and not wanting to look bad in front of others and all these things. And I think most people aren't successful because to be an entrepreneur, to build something, and I know I'm just talking about business here, this applies to dating, being vulnerable, like asking for a raise, like it's kind of the same stuff, right? There's always a social component to it. We're always being judged by others, and we always think we're being judged, even at times when we're not really, people don't really care or whatever, right? It's a constant. And humans are designed to want to please people. We don't want to piss people off. That's not good for our survivability in the group. This is evolutionary psychology, which I highly recommend you look into because it will explain so much about human nature. And I've spent a lot of time studying this. It pretty much explains everything. I call it the ancestral mindset. So that's probably the biggest reason why most people never reach their goals is they let the fear of social rejection or other people's opinions, or even somebody said you're going to be a failure and they just believe that lie, that story, and then so they don't get out there and do it. Or they try to do it and they half-ass it and they're not really into it. And this is another one of those really muddy, hard things about being successful that like you have to kind of take an action, you have to get analyzing, and you have to be hyper self-aware and paying attention to the feedback you're getting. Like, where are the opportunities? Where am I caring about what people think? I believe a lot of times the things you don't want to do in business or life or whatever to get where you want to go are usually held back by other people. I've seen it a lot in my own life, even as somebody that's a free thinker and that I don't really care about other people's opinions. It still took me years to get to this point. You know, I still avoided doing certain things. Like maybe I wasn't reaching out as much. Maybe I wasn't marketing hard enough. Like there's things that as an entrepreneur, I'm not as good at as other entrepreneurs. Like maybe some people are better at sales or reaching out. You know, I'm more kind of like do my own thing, content. You know, I'm not more of an outbound person. Some people are really good at outbound. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect at everything. You're going to have your strengths and weaknesses. But what I've identified is generally the things that I want, the results that I want are on the other side of the things I don't want to do. You know, they're on the other side of my weaknesses. Because it makes sense. We default to the success that we deserve based on what we do, and what we do better is usually a result of what we're naturally inclined to do and we're naturally good at. And so to get to that next level, it's almost always based on the things you're not good at. And that's why a book that's really good worth reading on this is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. It's basically like a lot of times we think we need to know the how. What's the thing we need to do? But really, in most cases, we need to be hiring the people or partnering with the people that can do a lot of the hows that we're not good at. And then that's the better way to grow rather than trying to teach yourself or force yourself to do something we don't want to do. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to avoid growth and you're just going to kind of like just hide, right? Like you still need to always be working on yourself. But as humans, we have natural proclivities for things that we're better at than others. And because life is short, we should probably be spending more of our time on the things we're good at, you know? So that's why like I have a PPC guy right now who's partnered with Wild and he's doing an amazing job. He has the creative intelligence. He also has the interest. He's good at it. He likes doing it. For me, I like doing other things. I need to also manage the business. I have a lot of, balls in the air, right? So for me to learn PPC to that level and really get obsessed with it and do all the things that like he's doing, I mean, it might be physically impossible for me to do it for various reasons. So I hired, even though the pain of paying him is, like a legit pain, it's an investment, but I've identified it's who, not how, and I'm making an investment in the future, right? So like I could obviously ramble on, and I want to close this out with a couple tangible ways to actually do this. And how to, because again, like you could understand everything I'm saying right now. You could be totally on board. You could be like ready to go and believing in it and wanting this so badly. But the question is, how do you change tomorrow? When you wake up tomorrow, what are you going to do differently? Because historically, based on just math, statistics, numbers, you are likely to do what you've done before. The odds are stacked against you. They're stacked against all of us. Even at this point in my life, right? If I want to go from now at 37 to millionaire and I want to become a billionaire, the odds are stacked against that. Like I would have to do something massively different, change something massive, like, maybe do a startup or something, right? And, with 3 kids, I'm not willing to do that. So it's fine. I don't want to be a billionaire. Or, I would be fine with it, but I don't want it enough to create plans around it and connect it to my work. And I don't, want it enough to like forego family and life and living, right? So I'm not going after it. That's fine, right? And that's a big part of success and self-awareness is knowing what you actually want. And when you identify your goals, making sure that they're realistic, they're attainable, and it actually fits into your life, rather than just like saying, I want this or that car or this money or whatever, and then like not really analyzing what that means, what you'll have to give up, etc. So you really, really need to analyze your goals, and that's a topic for another day. All right, let's get to it. So you have a specific goal. That's the first most important thing. You have to clearly identify exactly what you want. And then you need to clearly identify the specific steps to achieving it. From there, you have to cultivate specific thoughts to completing those steps. And then you have to create specific thoughts to keep going when it gets hard, because it's going to get hard. And then over time, through this process, like through that success loop, you're going through these specific steps based on specific thoughts to reach a specific goal. And then you're staying consistent and you have faith and whatever you need to keep going, whatever thoughts you need to build the habits to keep going. Over time, you will have goal realization. You will realize your goal. That's it. That's everything. So if we go back to it again, we go to every action comes from thought. Every action leads to result. Every result leads to thought, which leads to action, which leads to result, which leads to thought, which leads to action, which leads to result. If all you did was focus on this process and you were really good at listening to feedback and pivoting and trying and experimenting and you keep going, you will get there. And maybe that goal that you had set at first changes. Maybe you reach that goal and you realize it's not all it's cracked up to be. That's fine. But this doesn't change. This is a universal truth, constant. It's never going to change. Okay? All right, let's close this out. So the other big thing here, and this is really a philosophical idea. This is a topic for, I mean, this could be really expanded, okay? But the delusion of humanity is believing our externals determine how we think and feel. But that's a lie. We choose how we think and feel, no matter if it comes from our interpretation and opinion of the external environment or not. What I'm saying here is, and you need to know this if you're going after goals, because you're going to make sacrifices and you want to be hyper self-aware. You want to make sure it's worth it. You want to make sure you're doing what you need to do. You're going where you want to go, because you might end up there. You might accomplish that and you might not like where you ended up. But the delusion of humans is we believe that how we think and feel comes from outside of us. And this is directly, this probably should have came before this success loop, the action. So thought, action, result, right? Because I'm trying to get you to understand that thought, right now, your thoughts are very much based on the people around you and your external environment. You have to stop that. Your thoughts have to be some that exude from inside of you and from very carefully guarded attention and very, very specifically obtained information that you let into your eyes and ears. And then you manufacture your thoughts, you control your thoughts. And then that leads you to specific actions, that leads to specific results, that then brings you more information and leads back into the front end of thought. Thought, action, result. Thought, action, result. Your thoughts are within your control. If you're living in misery and pain and fear and propaganda, then you have to take control of your thoughts. And that means controlling whatever is in your environment that's leading to those thoughts. And you have to completely sever those links. And then you have to rebuild thoughts from the ground up. How you think and feel is not based on reality. Okay? It feels that way because like something happens and you label as bad or good or desirable or undesirable. It feels like that thought is a result of that external thing. But that thought is your choice. That thought is an interpretation. You translate, that's probably a good way to put it. You translate external reality into a thought, opinion. It's an interpretation. And then you use that interpretation, that thought, that opinion to guide how you act and feel. And this is why it's so hard, because a lot of our environment is negative. A lot of the things around us are negative. A lot of the people around us are negative and in the world. And they're sucked into this collective delusion that it's about they have to get things and they have to like look good on the screen and they have to get likes and this and that. It's all fake. It's all delusion. Marcus Aurelius said, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. That's something you got to remind yourself every single day because it feels like reality is truth. It feels like things we hear and see are facts. They're not. They're interpretations. They're opinions. All right. So I need to do part 2 because, I mean, holy shit, 35 minutes, man. You know it's a good topic when you're just going hard on it like that. So you want better actions because you want better results. Again, you need to analyze these things. It sounds simple, but you need to remind yourself that you want something, you desire something, and to get it is you have to take better actions. To take better actions, you have to have better thoughts. So it always comes back to thought. Again, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of the success loop. Thought, action, result. Thought, action, result. It always comes back to thought. So the real thing you have to figure out, and this is that question that I've been wrestling with and I've been asking you, and it's different for everyone, and it's muddy and it's hard, and there's a million rabbit holes, and there's a million sub things to do. How do you create better thoughts? That's the question. I'm going to list these off quickly and give an example because each one of these will probably be a future lesson. Okay? So environment. Control your environment. That's people. That is, content I have there, but it's like information. It's actual locale, like where you're at. Like, are you living in poverty? Are you living somewhere that everyone around you is poor? I mean, maybe you should leave. You have to control your environment. You are a byproduct of your environment. Okay? And again, like environment's kind of like the blanket term. A lot of these under here are subtopics of that. But people, coworkers, friends, family, it may feel like you can't avoid them, but you can avoid them and or control your interactions with them to an extent. And what you can do is get to a point where you eventually lead them. Change the conversation. Don't engage. When they gossip, change the subject. Walk out the room, right? If they're being negative, ask them to stop. Say, I'm changing my life. I'm not going to have negative energy in my life anymore. I'm just letting you know that, right? So if I respond in a certain way, it doesn't mean I'm mad at you or anything. I'm just not having it. And then watch what happens. Some people will revolt. Some will try to pressure you and persuade you and control you because they want you in their little box. Over time, though, they'll either weed themselves out of your life and then it would be good riddance, they don't belong, or they will adapt. And then you can start leading them. It's amazing. I pretty much lead everybody around me, everybody I interact with. Now, I'm very fortunate. I'm an anomaly in that way. I don't know why. Some combination of nature and nurture, whatever, okay? But again, in fact, what it is some combination of nature and nurture gave me the right amount of open-mindedness, the right amount of desire, and enough work ethic to stay the course. And then that's why I'm here today, and I think the way I think. Content you consume. Stop watching the news. Stop watching fear porn. Stop watching propaganda. Probably get off social media. Or if you're going to be on social media, curate the hell out of the people you follow. If it's negative, if it's political and you don't want to hear it, block these people. Restrict them. Unfollow them, right? Ban certain keywords. You can literally block keywords on Twitter. Health. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. So, like, you just got to prioritize this. You know? Like, you can have $1 billion and be not able to get out of bed, and you're a loser. To me, that's loser land. All right? So just freaking do it. Get outside. Eat real food. Maybe stop drinking alcohol if you're addicted to that. Stop eating seed oils. Cut back on your grains, your carbs, your sugar. Eat a whole food, real diet, ideally cooked at home. A lot of animal proteins. Wild Foods over at wildfoods.co. You can get a bunch of products to help you with that. It's really not hard. And you can eat really nutritious, delicious food. You got to find a why, right? Good book on this is Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Really good book. It's more about businesses, like startups, whatever, but it applies to life. You have to find your why. For me, life is short. I've seen a lot of death in my life. I lost my father when I was 18. That was very painful. I've lost some relationships, some very traumatic things in my past, but I'm grateful for them because it's made me who I am. I realize life is short. I want to savor every moment of it. I want to do things that matter and give value to humanity so that when I'm gone, like I did something impactful, and I want my children to grow up in a better world. That's my why. That's why for me, the biggest thing is balancing. It's like making sure I don't work too much, taking time off, having fun. I took a trip to Florida recently. I really enjoyed it. It was boring most of the time, but I was alone at times. And, hung out with some friends here and there. But it was good to be alone. It was good to have a break. It was good to have the comparison, the contrast to the routine of being in Austin. And I'm gonna start doing it like all the time. I might start going like probably every 2 months actually. I really kind of reactivated that. And guess what? I was nervous. I don't want to do it. Flying in general, I've never done really well flying, but the more I do it, it's fine. Like, so every time I fly, it gets a little bit easier. And I ripped that Band-Aid off. I had a lot of work to do at home. And so it was kind of a little bit of it was a little stressful to leave at that moment, but I knew I had to go. And so I did. And great opportunity came out of it. It was worth every second and every penny. And I'm already ready to go back and do it again. 6, you got to think long term, low time preference. That means when you have a high time preference, you do things for short hits. Like, you want to spend money now rather than invest. You want to eat that sugar thing now to get that little high rather than think about what it's going to do to your waistline. Successful people think long term, period, full stop. Look at the 2 richest people on the planet, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Elon Musk, his time preference is like going to Mars, right? Everything he has done and does on a daily basis for years and years and years is to go to Mars. And he's actually not that close. He's way closer than he was because he has a freaking rocket company, but he's still pretty far off. Jeff Bezos, Amazon was a 25 years, I think, where they made no money. 25 years of reinvesting profits and operating at a loss to eventually build the juggernaut that you know as Amazon today. Your best results in life and the most gratitude and enjoyment you're going to get out of them comes from long-term compounding results. Warren Buffett, right? Made billions after he was like 60. He was just a millionaire until I think he was like 65. Think about that a second. You're a millionaire until you're like 50 or 60. And then from like 60, 80, you're a billionaire. Very few people have the willingness to do that, to invest that way, to be frugal for years on end, and to stick with your plan. I mean, that's crazy. And then finally, you must analyze every decision, every assumption, every purchase, every action, every person, every emotion. You must stop operating automatically. You must stop responding to things automatically. You must ask yourself every question. You must question everything. You must become aware of everything. That's about all I got because I actually got work to do. And this is more fun for me. So get the Better Human newsletter over at the betterhumans.substack.com or thebetterhuman.co. It'll link you there. And then, of course, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app as well as YouTube. If you like this, drop me a comment, thumbs up, etc. I've been thinking about starting a group coaching program around, thoughts, goal setting, etc. So if you have any interest in that and you're still here at this point, you can always reach out to me. I'll probably be building something like that soon just because I enjoy it and I love helping people and interacting with them. But there's tons of free content on my channels, and I will be continually expanding this series and these ideas. Like, this is what I feel like I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get these ideas out there. I just got to keep going and getting better at packaging them, but this is what I'm meant to do. So, thanks for watching. Remember, ask yourself, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to change in your environment? Because that's probably the fastest way to actually change something is you change your environment and your people. You take tangible steps to block certain accounts, stop watching the news, like change your habits, change people, change your environment. And then that will lead to more space. And then you fill that space with good information like this video, like Master Key video, like Grave Mind on YouTube. You start filling your head with good content. And then that leads to more better thoughts, more better actions, more better results. And then you keep going and 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 going. And then you get success. And you get a little bit at a time here and there. And it shows up in random ways. And it's awesome. And then you're a different person. Your life will never be the same again. That's what I want for you. More better humans. Peace.